Hey all, welcome to Aquariums Reefs. On today's episode, we're going to review this, the Digiten Liquid Flow Controller. See if it's any good for aquarium use. Alright, so one of the benefits or cons of running a semi-successful YouTube channel is you get a few random companies reaching out and saying, would you review our products? Now, the fine folk at Digiten contacted me and said, have a look at our catalogue and see if there is anything in this list that you think would be useful for your followers on YouTube. And I had a look through and came across this liquid flow controller. Does it have a part number? It does not. It's just a liquid flow controller. And I thought this could be really useful. I'm excited to set it up and see whether I can get it to control the RO unit, to control a set amount of liquid and then turn off my RO unit. So I figured let's jump into it. So we'll start off with the unboxing of the unit itself. Now, you see it comes in a fairly small package. Open her up, you get this here. The control unit itself, it's about a palm size unit. It's got a mounting port on the back. It's got a backlit display, believe it or not, and these kind of splash-proof buttons. It's got a harness connector and a power connector. That's all there is about to the unit itself. Now, what else do we get in the box? We get the harness. Now, this obviously goes between, that plugs into the main part of the unit, and it has 3 outlets. One goes to a flow sensor. Oh, sorry, that's not a flow sensor. That's a temperature sensor. This plug here is a temperature sensor. You can put that into your liquid if you want to measure the temperature as well. Probably not going to use that in an aquarium sense because it looks to be a gal steel. Probably not the best thing. You've got a connector that goes to your flow sensor, and then you have 2 outlets which go, well, 2 spade connectors which go to a solenoid to turn your flow on or off. Fairly decent length unit. Guess it could be longer depending on how far away you want to mount these things, but that should do the trick. Here is the solenoid itself. It comes with 1/2-inch BSP connectors, fairly standard, although if you're going to use this on RO fittings, you're probably going to need some adapters. Thankfully, I bought a bulk lot of John Guest fittings off eBay. They were all used, but I got like literally 1,000 connectors. So I will hook that up to my RO. And then, I was going to say finally, but there's a couple more things in there. We've got the flow sensor itself. Now this flow sensor is made by them. It's a Digiten flow sensor, and it says it is 1 to 30 litres per minute. Hopefully that's within range. We'll soon find out. It does have a direction, which you need to be mindful of. And what it will do is when you blow through it, or when water goes through it, hear that cool turbo noise? That's basically because there is a there is basically an impeller in there, but instead of a motor driving that impeller to push the water, it's passive, and when the liquid flows past it, all it does is it measures how fast it's turning that impeller, which tells it how much liquid's passing through. Fairly simple, fairly clever. And now, last but least, we get a nice Australian power adapter. So yeah, that obviously clicks into your power, that plugs into the unit, and we're good to go. Now, the use case that I believe this unit will be really awesome for is I want to hook this up to my RO unit in the back shed. I want to dial in 660 litres of RO. I want the unit to measure the RO passing through. When it gets to 660 litres, turn the solenoid off, which will turn off my RO unit, and I'll have 660 litres of RO ready there for me to tip a whole bucket of salt into. Let's test it out just in my kitchen sink first before I go and spend like a couple of days making RO water and see if it does the job. Alright, so here's the setup that I'm using for this review. I've got a Sicce Syncra 1.0 pump down there. It's got a little RODI fitting on it. It comes through some RODI tubing to a tap so I can control the flow so we can see whether we're getting different flow rates. And at the moment you can see I've got it just connected straight to the flow sensor, not the solenoid, just because I've been having a little bit of trouble with the solenoid. But let's fire this up and see how it goes. So first of all, I'll fire up the unit itself. And you see the little display, it does have a backlight, but it does go off after a couple of minutes use. You've got this run stop button. You can see we go from a green LED to a red LED. And I'll turn the pump on and we'll get some flow through it. Now you can see we've got a bit of flow coming out of our pump here, but it is showing as, goes between 0.26 litres per minute, 0.40 litres per minute, 0.13 litres per minute. So it moves around quite a lot. Yet you can see the flow out of the hose is quite consistent. Now, I'm afraid that does make it a little difficult for this use case, in that if we can't get a good consistent reading there, it's going to be pretty tough to use. And this is probably faster than most RIDI units are going to use. Now, in fairness to the unit, I thought that that could well be that we just need to get more flow to the unit. Obviously, it's beyond its range, and in fact, down here it does say working range is 1 litre to 30 litres a minute. So according to this, we're below its range, and that will be why it is inconsistent. All right, now we've hooked the solenoid back into the equation the way it should be. So we've got the pump running. It's got a tap there to control the flow. It comes into the solenoid, which is the correct way. It then goes into our flow sensor, which is also the correct way around. Once I tell this unit to run, in fact, I'll just clear it first. Once I press run, the controller will go from the red light to the green light. It'll open the solenoid and water will come through. Happy days. That appears to be working the way you would expect, but because of the restrictive nature of the solenoid, it actually tells us we're flowing 0 litres per minute because it's not fast enough for this sensor to register. All right, so the test bench in the kitchen didn't quite go to plan. It looked like we weren't getting enough flow through the unit for it to be accurate. It was just reading under that 1 litre per minute reading, which in fairness, our flow sensor does say that it needs 1 to 30. So if we're below 1, it's probably not going to work all that well, which does have me racking my brains a little bit as to how I could use this in an aquarium sense, but I'll leave the creativity up for you guys. What I'm gonna do is jump out into my backyard, despite the fact that it's blowing a gale and pouring rain. I'm gonna hook up my garden hose to this unit and see if we can get it to operate as per expected. All right, so here we are. I'm outside in the cold rain and wind, but I figured to give this unit a fair test, we should bump up the flow and probably a bit of the pressure so I can really test out the solenoid and the flow sensor in its range. So I've hooked up my garden hose to it. We're going through the solenoid, through the sensor, out into RO tubing, and I've got a bucket here so I can measure exactly how much water is coming out. I've got some lines, might be hard to see on camera there, but I've got some lines on the bucket which show you where we're up to. I'm gonna set the unit. I'm just gonna clear it first. Now I'm gonna jump into quantitative, gonna hold down set. Now that gives me the flashing digit there, so I'm going to press set because I want to leave it the decimal places to be exact. I want to move this up to 5 because what I want to do is I want this unit to let 5 litres of tap water through into the bucket. So we'll see how that goes. Now that's been saved, that's all good and well. What I've got to do is go back into quantitative. I'll just make sure I've got my outlet in that bucket because it does come out at a decent rate. Now once that's in there, I press start. And you can see we've got water coming out. We've got a lot more pressure than we had before. I'm not sure if you can see the value going up there. The flow is right into its sweet spot. Remember, it was saying between 3 and 9 litres per minute. We're in 6.8. So it's going. We're getting up there. Approaching 2 litres. There we go. 2.5. 3. Press a button so the backlight comes back on. We're heading up to 4 litres. Now, as we approach 5, it should stop. Now, it has actually stopped. You can see the water's still running. That's because there's too much. Oh, it did work. There's too much pressure for the solenoid to be able to switch off, is what I think is the problem. But it did actually stop on its own. Let's see how much water we've got in there. I'll just pop the camera off the tripod. See if we can see there. The mark for 5 litres is here, and it's kind of hard to see there. I'll just move it so you can see the water. The water is at 5 litres, so it has appeared to have worked. We just need to have a precise amount of pressure and water flow for the device to work, which is probably going to limit its use cases in an aquarium sense, but potentially for like watering your garden or something like that, this could be great. All right, guys, there you go. You can see the Digiten Flow Controller did actually work as expected. I was fairly doubtful there for a little bit, particularly when I was in the kitchen and trying to get the unit to work there, and the readings were all over the place and it just wasn't doing anything that I expected. It was starting to look like a piece of junk, but once I hooked it up to the garden hose, we got some decent flow through the unit. It actually worked a charm. Now, the one thing I am really curious about is this is a fairly standard flow sensor, and I know you can get smaller ones, so I'm really keen to buy, they only cost a couple of bucks, a smaller flow sensor that will do under 1 litre per minute, and see if I can't get this unit to control my RO, because if I can, it would be really, really cool. If it can't, I don't know what other uses I could have for this unit on my aquarium, but you guys out there may have something, or maybe you want to get it to control the sprinkler in your backyard. I don't know. I'll leave the creativity side of it up to you guys. I'll pop some purchase links down in there. I get nothing from those purchase links. It's not an affiliate link. I will point out though that Digiten did send me this unit for free. I'm not getting paid for the review, but they gave me the unit to test, to show you guys, to see whether we could find an aquarium use for it. I'm still scratching my head on that one, but that's okay. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or ideas on how I can get it to work with my RO unit, be sure to pop the comments in the section down below. And of course, if you have not already, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. I can't help but notice when I view the stats each week, when I have a look there, the majority of people watching my videos have not subscribed, and we're approaching 5,500 subscribers, so I'd love to see that value soar. If you haven't already, it takes 2 seconds of your time. You just got to click subscribe, costs you nothing. It goes a long way. I'd really appreciate it. Other than that, guys, that's about all I've got time for today. Thank you very much. Stay safe and keep reefing. Catch you later. Bye.